wanted to know, show me in the Bible where they draw the line for marriage.
Very easy. Ezekiel 16 verses 6 to 8 and 1 Corinthians 7:36. So you should never challenge me. I've already done the homework. Ezekiel 16 verses 6 to 8 and 1 Corinthians 7:36 says that a woman is only marriageable when she's post-pubescent, when she's gone beyond puberty. So you didn't want to ask me that because you see, embarrass yourself.
Okay, but what do you define as signs of puberty? Because some people could argue that at the age of 11 months, some babies we see
Really?
them like signs of like it's
So
a
here we
Christian
go
who said
again.
that. It's a
Buddy.
Christian who said that. Yeah.
Buddy, here we go again. You just asked me, and I showed you that the Bible says that a woman has to be fully ripened, past
Okay.
puberty, post-pubescence, mature physically, and aware. Ezekiel 16, 6 to 8, and 1 Corinthians 7:36. I even showed you that. I have the verses, I have articles. And not only that, we go to the early church, and they condemned having sexual intimacy with youth, with children, pediasty. So I showed you, but can you show me that in the Quran? But you can't.
I think you mixed it up because you didn't show me anything.
You want to bet? I just mentioned the verses. If I open up the verses.
But last time, we didn't even talk about it last time.
Yeah, but right now I did. I just
Sure.
So, but even let's say the Bible did not say it. Okay, but the Quran, let's just assume I didn't have any verses that point to the fact that a woman has to be post-pubescent, mature physiologically and emotionally. Let's say I didn't have that. Can we put it aside? But the Quran is supposed to be the perfect revelation and a message for all generations until the end. And you believe Allah is God and He cares for all His creatures and He's merciful to women and children. The very least, your Quran should protect young girls from having intercourse before the time because it does irreparable physiological and psychological damage. So even if the Bible didn't say it, forget about the Bible. You're telling me the Quran is a message for all mankind. The Bible is corrupt. It was only for the Jews, and Jesus only came for the Jews. Why doesn't your God have something superior?
Well, again, it's kind of a contradiction what you just said because you just told me I believe that the Bible was. I don't believe that this. I believe that it was corrupted. So I don't even think that this was God's words.
Yeah,
so
even though the Quran doesn't say it's corrupted, but I just granted that argument for you. Okay, the Bible's corrupt. Put it aside. Why then the Quran doesn't come with something better? Why doesn't it protect children? Why does it legislate pedophilia?
Define pedophilia.
Pedophilia is when a grown man takes a pre-pubescent girl and then has sex with her, and then she can be divorced for other men to have sex with. And if you follow your Islamic rule, he can have up to 4 of them at one time and then divorce them. But then he can have as many of them if they are his right-hand possession.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, so your question was why didn't God reveal some?
Because He knows the body better than we do, right? He knows, because modern science saying that a woman should only be considered marriageable or considered healthy enough to have sex when she reaches the menarche stage, not even puberty, menarche, when her hips have fully formed and are calcified, because up until a certain age, her bones are still developing. If you have intercourse with her prior to that, you stunt her growth and you do damage to her physiologically. That's why they talk about the menarche stage. Now her bones fully developed, her hips are fully developed, and now she's able to handle it, let alone the psychological damage that it would do prior to that stage. But your God created the body and He knows it better than modern science. And you keep telling me the Quran is scientifically
No, I've never said.
Okay,
I actually think that it should be separated from science, but whatever. Yeah.
Okay, but that was in the 90s, the whole proof of the Quran. I come from the 90s. I used to hear Jamal Badawi, Shabri Ali, Ahmad Didat, right? These were the big names of debaters at that time, not this generation. Jamal Badawi, every debate, the miraculous scientific proofs of the Quran. Now, Muslims have gotten smart, they've abandoned it. But in the 90s, everyone and his mother was quoting Dr. Maurice Bouquet, Bible, Quran, and Science. So I'm glad you abandoned it. But my point is, God, you say He's the most merciful. He knows His creation better than we do. So if it is a legislation for all peoples till the end of the age, and He cares for children, then the first thing He should have done was legislate to protect children from bodily and psychological damage. But He didn't. He sanctioned pedophilia.
Well, you can't compare like at the time. You can't compare it to now.
Buddy, you didn't even hear what I just said. This way.
No, I heard.
Okay. It was the Quran only for that time, or is it for all generations?
No, right. It's for, well, this is where I have to do some explaining. So, a age is something that is static, but the development of a person regarding his age, it changes over time.
There is no scientific studies to show that people in the 7th century matured faster than girls today. In fact, it should be the opposite, because today, living in Western cultures, because of the advancement in medicine and food, it's the opposite, right? We would have girls maturing faster now than back then because of the vitamins and all the food and nutrients that children today have that they didn't have back then. It's actually the opposite. They would mature faster now than then. That's not going to work, buddy.
Well, mentally they didn't. Well, I know you were talking
Mentally,
about
they didn't back then?
No, mentally they were like more mature like back then.
Okay, so when your hadith say that Aisha was playing with dolls, how mature was she?
Yeah, but see, you're talking about dolls because of the American perspective of like little boys and
Islam forbids the images.
yeah, and there has been a
do
dispute over whether her dolls have a face or not. Ibn Hajar, he had the opinion that the dolls had a face. Other scholars.
Ibn Hajar, the same person you quoted, said Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani says the reason why Aisha was allowed to play with dolls because she hadn't reached puberty. But when she reached puberty, she stopped. And you know how old was she when she stopped playing with dolls? According to Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, I have it. She was 14. So he admits she hadn't reached puberty till 14.
I don't know.
You appealed to him. I didn't appeal to him.
Yeah, and no, I didn't appeal. I said that this was his opinion. I never said I support this.
His opinion was Aisha was only allowed to play with dolls because she hadn't reached puberty, whether there was a face or not. But put that aside. He's saying she was allowed to play with dolls because she hadn't reached puberty. When she reached puberty, she didn't play with dolls anymore. And then he assigns the time of her puberty where she stopped playing with dolls around the age of 14. So it backfired against you. He's admitting she wasn't pubescent from 9 to 14. But you see, you're actually trying to justify this when my point was, since this message is for all people to the end of the age, why does Allah then ignore the fact that, okay, maybe some people thought it was okay today, but it's still harmful and damaging. And I'm not just concerned for people today, I'm concerned for all people to the end of the age. So I want to protect girls from now till the Dajjal and Isa return, because he knows everything, right?
Who?
So why didn't he protect them? Why did he allow it to happen until now? In modern times, Muslims are embarrassed after this, say, well, now times are different, so we shouldn't marry prepubescent girls. Well, okay, that's an illegal opinion, but that's not Quran or Sunnah. So you have to set aside the Quran and Sunnah because of embarrassment and pressure from these Western societies that are actually all kuffar. So you're kowtowing to the kuffar. Why? If you really believe in Allah, who cares what the kuffar say? Yeah, no, child brides. We're going to sleep with them, have sex with them. Damn you, whether you like it or not.
Okay, so if we look at outside of America, because this argument, actually, if you look back at it, back at the time of the Prophet, no one brought this argument towards him. No one brought it.
No, they did. Abu Bakr complained, and then they complained when Omar Abu Bakr asked for Fatima's hand in marriage. You know what your Prophet told him? I have the hadith.
Yeah, she's too young.
Say it again.
She's too young.
Well, wait,
maybe he meant mentally. Yeah.
How old was
like 10 or something, I forgot.
Wow. I love you because you're honest. So Fatima, who's around 10, 11, Muhammad said she's too young for Abu Bakr and Umar, and they weren't even as old as Muhammad when he married Aisha. So what do you mean they didn't complain? Here your Prophet complained, no, she's too young for you. So why was Fatima too young for Abu Bakr and Fatima, but Aisha wasn't too young for Muhammad?
Well, maybe, I don't know, I might say something stupid. Maybe because like mental intelligence, was
and Aisha mature. Was mentally mature, playing with dolls and on swings. What about?
Okay, but I wanted to know of the enemies of Islam until the last.
When I need the enemies of Islam, when I have Muhammad's companions and Muhammad himself, you don't have anyone better than him telling you 10, 11 is too young. He said it. What about Ali and Kulthum and Umar when he wanted to marry Kulthum? What did Ali say to Umar?
I don't know.
she's too young for you. And he says, no, she's not. So I just gave you two examples where they're recognizing, oh, these girls are too young. But then at the same time, by saying that, they're going against the Quran, because the Quran doesn't set an age limit. But beyond that, why did Abu Bakr say to Muhammad when he said, I want to marry Aisha, but we are brothers? What was his complaint? He said, but we are brothers, as in Bukhari. He said, wait, but we're brothers. He was shocked. Wait, but you're my brother. Yes, we are brothers, but she's lawful for me.